I want to introduce a dear friend of mine, a man of incredible courage, a man who has fought the system from his first breath, a man who spent time with his family living in a car and became the youngest mayor in Cleveland and saved the power plant in Cleveland, which was a municipal asset, from the greed and corruption of those interests that would deprive the people of Cleveland of their power and their community. He went on to become an incredible congressman who stood up to presidents, stood up to Barack Obama, stood up. I was there when he was Kerry was going to be nominated and Dennis was going to speak, and Dennis had a speech, and Kerry wanted to censor the speech. And Dennis said, "I'm going home. Yeah. Explain that to the people in the room. I will not be part of this." And they backed down. There are people like Dennis in Congress. We must empower them, because on the other hand, there are a lot of people who just follow the status quo, who have been bought by the moneyed interest in this country. We have lost our democracy. It's up to take it back. And there's nobody better to explain that than Dennis Kucinich.
Let's hear for Jamie Cromwell. Put himself on the line. Camilla put himself on the line. Madeline, let's hear it for the Way Way Onda group that showed how important it is to be involved, not to give up. New York, there is a new America rising. And it's rising here today. It's rising with your presence. It's rising with the work that you have done in insisting that we have air fit to breathe, water fit to drink, land that should be not spoiled, food that should be fit to eat, that we have to be able to stand for our human health and the health of our brothers and sisters. There is a new America rising, and you are part of it. You are assuring that this message that comes from the Hudson Valley, across this state, goes to Delaware and other states, that this message is resonating all across the country. It's the message of Standing Rock and the courage of Native peoples who took on a corrupt interest and proved that they did not get a fair day in court. It's the courage of people here who are taking on CPD, who are looking at a corrupt process. Look, I've been in government for 50 years. My career started in 1967, and I was chairman of a congressional investigative subcommittee that investigated the shenanigans on Wall Street, and I can tell you that I know a crooked deal when I see one, and CPD is a crooked deal, period, full stop. Governor Cumo, who I know, and I consider a friend, long ago should have recognized that this process is contaminated when you have people in your own office who are charged with bribery, when you see the corruption of the permitting process, when those who have been involved at Minisink and other places have been able to see the corruption of the permitting process. It's time for the governor to recognize this. His career depends on it, but our lives depend upon it. This is about the future of New York. It's about the future of America. Are you ready to stand up for this country as well as its state, and never to relent, and never give up, and always to press forward? As Jamie noted, it was 40 years ago, actually, when I had the honor of being elected mayor of the city of Cleveland on an issue to save the city's municipal electric system from a takeover by a private and powerful utility monopoly. I was America's youngest mayor when I took office. I was 30 years old. And I saw the corruption that was involved in trying to steal the city's electric system. And what I learned is this. This system had already been sold before I was elected. It was already sold. There are people today who will tell you, well, you know, this is a done deal. You can't do anything about it. That's wrong. There is no done deal. As long as the people are courageous, as long as the people are organized, as long as the people will stand up and speak out and have a beating heart and a soul of integrity and honesty, this is not a done deal. 40 years ago I was told, you can't, Dennis, forget it. You cannot save this system. It's already sold. But because I look at reality a little bit differently, I see what's out there that other people don't. You see an opening here. That's why you're here. And we have to call that other reality forward, set it into motion, and then years later, people will be grateful that there were individuals who had the courage and the willingness to take a stand and to stand up for our air, to stand up for our water, to stand up for our land, to stand up for our health, to stand up for future generations, to stand up for everything that is good and decent in America. This is our moment. This is our moment to take a stand. This is our moment to give an answer to the state. This is our moment to say to Governor Cuomo, stop CPD. Stop CPD. Louder. Stop CPD. Let him hear it. Stop CPD. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Stop CPD. Stop CPD. But where we stop CPD, we start a new energy policy in America. Where we stop CPD, we stop the privatization of the public realm in America, the attempt to take away public land and turn it over to energy companies, the attempt to steal what belongs to the people and give it to those who are paying off politicians with campaign contributions. That's the fact. That happens, but we don't have to see that it's going to continue to happen because there is a new America rising. It is rising for honesty. It is rising for integrity. It is rising for action. It is rising for the truth. It is rising for alternative and clean energy. It is rising for a government we can call our own. It is rising for the people. It is rising with the people, and you are rising with it. Those who say, well, there's nothing that can be done, it's all over. I want you to remember a person who served this state as a senator. He was someone who was revered nationally. I'm speaking of Senator Robert Kennedy. In 1968, Senator Kennedy went to Cape Town, South Africa, where people were pressed with the scourge of apartheid. And these young people at the university he spoke to did not believe that it was possible that there could be another world out there other than one that discriminated against people based on color, other than one that created a two-class society based on color. And Senator Kennedy saw their skepticism. And here's what he said to them. And this is something that I would urge all of you to remember, because it's some of the most important words spoken by a public official. He said that each time a man or a woman stands up for an ideal, acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he or she sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples can create a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. That is our commitment. There is a new America rising, and we are being heard here in Albany. Thank you very much.
Stop CPD!